fact signed by you, your attorneys, and by the Assistant District Attorney. When you agree to a stipulation of fact, you're waiving certain constitutional rights because the Commonwealth has the burden of proof. Do you understand that?
Yes.
The stipulation states that on a particular date, June 18, 2013, you were present in the parking lot of the North Attleboro Police Station, that after 2:10 a.m. you were given a phone belonging to another individual. The phone number of that phone, not belonging to you, was 617-930-1341, and that you used that phone with that phone number. Without a stipulation, the district attorney would have to present witnesses to testify to these facts, and then through your lawyer, you would have the right to confront those witnesses and to cross-examine them. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you willing to waive that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So when there's a stipulation, a defendant is agreeing that he's willing to waive those constitutional rights as far as those witnesses are concerned on those facts and those facts only. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that what you wish to do?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you talked to your lawyers about the stipulation?
I have.
And before signing it, did you read it through?
Yes.
Is there anything about the stipulation that you do not understand?
No, Your Honor.
Do you want to agree to the stipulation knowing that you're waiving your constitutional rights relative to what I've just mentioned?
Yes.
The court is satisfied that the defendant knowingly and intelligently and voluntarily has waived his constitutional rights that relate to the stipulation of fact, and the stipulation of fact is accepted by the court. Should be marked as an exhibit, or?
Yes, please, Your Honor.
And the witness, I assume, has been carefully instructed not to get into areas of that are governed by the stipulation.
Yes, Your Honor.
Before we bring him back, I guess it's still snowing fairly. It's still snowing without let up, and I gather the last witness, the officer, talked to the clerk about the condition of the roads during a recess. So it does seem to me that we should probably stop somewhat earlier today so people are not leaving in the midst of bad driving conditions. It would be nice to certainly finish up with this witness. And is there another witness that you really wanted to put on today?
Your Honor, the other witness I think might be, this would be curious, who would be a while. So if we're not going to reach her, I'd just assume she's here with her father, that we'd let her go if that's going to be the court's intention.
Well, if we went to like 1 or 1:30, would you be able to do both of them?
I beg your pardon, Your Honor.
Do you think if we went to 1 or 1:30, you'd get through both, or not? I mean, I really, if you thought we could, we could take a shorter lunch, but I can't have no lunch at all if we're going to go to 2 or 2:30.
Could we just have a moment?
Yeah.
We could also just wait till after this witness is finished, and then we'll have a sense of what time that is. Why don't we do that? We can bring the chairs in.
17, you want to line them up, please? Officer, want to bring that witness back? $17, you copy that? Right this way, sir. Stop, please.
What is it? Session, be seated, please.
You may.
Before we broke, you indicated that there's a surveillance camera that's affixed to the building at the North Attleboro PD.
Yes.
And you were able to, on the early morning hours, what date would this be now?
This would be early morning hours of the 18th.
Okay. And at approximately 2 a.m., were you using that video camera?
Yes, I was.
And you started to describe you were able to zoom in on a particular location.
Yes.
And what was that?
A vehicle out in the parking lot.
And did you see who was in that vehicle?
Yes, Mr. Hernandez got into the vehicle on the passenger side.
Okay. And had you previously seen him out before he got into the vehicle?
Yes.
And what did you see happen inside the vehicle?
Inside the vehicle, it appeared that he took his phone and took it apart.
Okay. And then after doing that, if I could have one moment, Your Honor. And at that time, was he given a phone, yes or no?
Yes.
And as a result of that, did you see him doing something?
Yes.
And what was that?
He was using that phone.
And just describe what you saw him doing at that time with this other phone.
So he's using one phone, either texting or calling, and the other one is on his lap, apart.
Okay. And how long did you watch him on the camera?
Around 20 minutes,
And approximately what times was this from and between?
between 2 and 2:20, 2:25 or so, right around there.
And during that time, did you see him do, while he's now on this other phone, did you see him doing anything with the phone that he had taken apart?
Yes, he had put it back together and powered it up.
Okay. And how long did you see him engaged in this with now two phones powered up?
A couple of minutes.
Okay. And this video that allowed you, the camera that allowed you to watch this, does that have recording capabilities?
Yes, it does.
And were you recording this as that was occurring?
Yes, it's always recording.
You may.
So I'm just going to show you the CD and ask you if you recognize it.
Yes,
What do you recognize that to be?
that's the CD of the video recording.
Okay, have you had an opportunity to view this
Yes.
CD? And did you, after viewing it, did you initial it?
Yes, that's my initials.
And does this CD fairly and accurately represent, what you saw, clips of what you saw that night in the parking lot?
Yes, it does.
Okay, Your Honor, I'd offer this is the next exhibit.
Subject to the court's rulings.
Objections overruled, may be marked as the next exhibit.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could play this.
May.
And Your Honor, if I could, before we play it, if court would permit me to read the stipulation, which is now marked Exhibit 118,
You may.
to the jury.
Stipulation is an agreement of the parties and stipulation.
2013, Aaron Hernandez was present in the parking lot of the North Attleboro Police Station. After 2:10 a.m., Mr. Hernandez was given a phone belonging to another individual. The phone number of the phone not belonging to Mr. Hernandez is 617-930-1341. Mr. Hernandez used that phone number 617-930-1341, and stipulated to by the parties, signed by counsel and the defendant, Aaron Hernandez. Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, was that video the clip of what you had previously testified to?
Yes, it was.
Now, after you observed that, do you know how much longer you were able to observe the defendant in that parking lot?
Just a few more minutes.
Okay, and then after that, it's fair to say that he left?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you, that was now June 18, 2013.
Yes.
Were you working thereafter during the day and evening hours of that date?
Yes, I was.
Do you recall on that date having a conversation with a young woman by the name of Keelia Smith?
Yes.
And as a result of that, did you go someplace in North Attleboro?
Yes.
Where did you go?
Enterprise Rent-A-Car?
And did you meet with Ms. Smith?
Yes, I did.
And do you know what her position is at Enterprise?
I believe manager.
And as a result of conversation with her, did you take any action with regard to a particular vehicle at the Enterprise rental car in North Attleboro?
Yes.
And what action did you take?
We secured a Nissan Altima
Okay. And where was it when you said you secured it?
in the parking lot.
Your Honor, may I approach?
May-
So I'm just going to show you these two photographs, ask you if you recognize them.
Yes.
What do you recognize them to be?
The Nissan Altima that was in the parking lot on the 18th.
As a result of making observations of this vehicle, did you and other officers seek a search warrant?
Yes.
And was this vehicle ultimately seized?
Yes.
What happened after it was seized?
After it was seized, it was transported and searched ultimately.
And do these photographs fairly and accurately portray its condition when you observed it in these parking lots?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'll please this the next exhibit.
No objection.
Mark's next exhibit.
A and B.
Your Honor, if I could publish these.
May.
So I'm going to place 120 on the overhead. You see that all right?
Yes.
That was 128, actually. And sir, the vehicle that's depicted is what?
The Nissan Altima,
And what is the registration of this vehicle?
536MX2,
What state is that registered?
state of Massachusetts.
Did you make observations of the condition of this vehicle?
Yes.
And you just, what is the record, what color is the vehicle?
Gray, silver.
And the observations that you made of its condition were what?
The driver's side mirror is missing, and there was some scratches on it.
I'm going to show you now it's been marked 120B. Recognize this photograph?
Yes.
And what do you recognize it?
The mirror that's missing off the driver's side.
And when you say missing, just describe its condition here when you observed it.
It looks like it was broken off.
Now, you were involved in the investigation of this matter for some period of time.
Yes, sir.
What steps, if any, were taken to search for a mirror?
Several steps.
Okay, just describe them, please.
We searched different areas for the mirror on the side of roads.
Did you have any luck recovering a mirror?
No, we didn't.
Now, on that same date, on June 18th, was there a separate search warrant that was executed somewhere?
Yes,
And where was that?
at Mr. Hernandez's home, 22 Ronald C. Meyer.
And approximately what time was that search warrant executed?
Afternoon, early evening, maybe?
Did you participate in that?
Yes.
And as a result of participating in it, did you actually go to the home?
Yes, I did.
And what were you searching for?
Clothing and Mr. Hernandez's cell phone.
Okay. Do you recall anything regarding a surveillance system?
Yes.
Objection sustained.
Okay. Was there anything else that you were searching for?
Yes, surveillance, electronic equipment.
Okay. And let me just ask you this. Was there another occasion you were involved in the execution of a search warrant at the home of the defendants?
Yes.
And when was that?
I believe a couple days later.
Okay. And do you know what was being searched for at that time?
At that time was GPS equipment, any clothing, firearms.
Okay. And do you know whether, the first occasion, whether there was clothing that was authorized by the search warrant?
I think the first one was electronic equipment and cell phone.
Okay. And when you went on that occasion, was there any equipment related to a surveillance system that was removed from the home?
Yes, there was.
Do you know who removed it?
Somebody from the state police, I believe.
And what about the search for the cell phone? Were you involved in that?
Yes.
And was there a specific cell phone that was being searched for?
Mr. Hernandez's cell phone.
Okay. And was that identified in some way?
Yes.
And by what way?
It was identified, I just remember it was his phone.
Okay. But do you know, did the search warrant have a particular number for purpose of identifying it?
Yes, I'm sure it did.
Okay. And what number was being used for the purpose of identifying it?
I don't recall his phone number.
But do you just know whether that was by a serial number or by a phone number or some other number?
Yes.
Could I see counsel?
And sir, do you recall how the phone that you were searching for was identified?
I don't recall how it was identified.
And when I say, I'm sorry, do you know whether you were searching for it by a particular phone number?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And do you recall that phone number?
No.
Is your memory exhausted as to that phone number?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Me.
Just going to show you this item and just ask you to read it to yourself. Directing the number to the second line.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Does that assist your memory in any way as to the number that was being searched for?
Yes, it was identified on the search warrant as his phone.
And Were you able to find that phone?
No.
During the course of your search? Now, at some point, did you have an occasion to go down into the basement area?
Yes.
And just describe the basement area. Did you observe any equipment?
Yes.
And where was that?
In a media room, home media room.
Okay, where was the media room in relation to any other rooms?
In the far corner, as you're entering the basement, the far right corner.
Okay. And just describe the media room, if you would.
Big screen, a lot of electronic components on the left-hand side, reclining chairs.
Okay. At some point, did you go behind the big screen?
Yes.
And just describe what you saw there.
Just the back of all the electronic equipment that is used for the media room.
Okay. Now, if I could use the overhead. So I'm just going to show you what was marked as 106 and 107, placing 106 on the overhead. You recognize that, sir?
Yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
That's the electronic equipment.
And what side of the screen was that?
On the left-hand side?
I'm placing 107. Do you recognize this, sir?
Yes.
What do you recognize this to be?
That's the back of what you just showed the front of.
And how were we able to make the observations of this area?
Through a small hallway behind the screen, so a little alleyway.
And which side of the screen was that?
The door to the entrance to it is on the right, and these are on the left.
In terms of condition of the wiring, does this show the condition of the wiring when you observed it?
Yes.
How many wires did you see were unplugged in the back of these devices?
I saw one.
Is that portrayed here?
Yes.
Now, after the search warrant at the home of the defendant, did you, and as a result of having a conversation with Kelia Smith, was something delivered to you, sir?
Yes.
Okay, and what was that?
A business card?
And who delivered the business card to you?
Kelia Smith.
You're on there, approach. I'm going to show you this item, sir, and ask you if you recognize it.
Yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
That's the business card that Kelia Smith handed me.
Okay. And when she had given it to you, was there any writing on this?
Yes.
And where was the writing?
On the back, on the bottom,
Okay, and what writing was there?
the name Aaron and his cell phone number.
And does this card appear to be in the same shape and condition
Yes.
as when you observed it?
Yes, it does.
Not at all, but this is the next.
No objection.
Back to the next exhibit.
Post this one. That the card, sir, just showed you number 121.
Yes.
Recognize this is the back of that card.
Yes.
Now, sir, you indicated on the 18th, it was the matters at the station in the early morning hours, and then during the course of the day, a visit to Enterprise and later to the home of the defendant.
Yes.
On the 20th, did you have an occasion to go back to bless you, to the Enterprise?
Yes, I did.
And what caused you to go back on that date?
I received a call from Kelia Smith telling me...
Okay, and without getting into what was discussed, as a result of that phone call, did you go there?
Yes.
Okay. And approximately what time, if you remember, did you go there?
Afternoon, I think around 5 or 6.
Okay. And when you arrived there, did you meet with any other law enforcement officers?
Yes.
Who else met you there?
I remember Sergeant Baker, Lieutenant King from the State Police, Captain Dorenzo, Chief Riley.
Did you go to a particular area of the property?
Yes.
And where was that?
It was in the rear of the building underneath a canopy, like a carport.
And when you say a canopy, just describe what you mean by that.
It's like a carport. It's where they would pull the cars under to clean them out of the element, maybe.
Okay. And in that area, did you make observations of any particular item?
Yes.
And what item was that?
There was a dumpster.
Okay. When you say a dumpster, just describe it if you would.
Just not a very large one, a small one with a top on it that lifts up. And
Okay. And when you went and observed this dumpster, did you take a look inside the dumpster?
yes.
And were there some contents in there?
Yes.
At some point after making those observations, did somebody actually get in the dumpster?
Yes.
And who was that?
Sergeant Baker.
And when he got in just describe what happened after he got in the dumpster.
He got in the dumpster, was searching, and ultimately pulled out some items from it.
Okay. And as he got in there and started pulling items, were they placed somewhere?
Yes.
Where were they placed?
On the tailgate of a pickup truck.
And were you able to make observations of items that were coming out of the dumpster being placed in the tailgate of this pickup truck?
Yes.
And just describe what you observed Sergeant Baker recover from the dumpster.
He pulled out a piece of paper that looked like it had a drawing, like ink painted piece of paper that had a blue substance on it, looked like bubble gum. I pulled out a vitamin water bottle and also a shell casing.
Okay. And when you say a shell casing, what do you mean by that?
The shell casing is after the round of ammunition is extracted from it. It's the casing that the round would be in.
Okay. And as a result of those items being recovered, did anyone else respond to that scene?
Yes.
And who else responded?
Crime scene services.
Okay. And do you know what happened or what did they do when they responded?
They photographed and took possession.
Okay. I may approach. So I'm going to show you a series of photographs and ask you if you recognize them. If you just take a look through.
Yes.
Okay.
This is the Enterprise run-up.
I'm just going to have you go through them all if you would first. Thank you. Sir, do you recognize what's depicted in these photographs?
Yes.
And what do you recognize them to be? What scenes depicted here?
The scene of where the rear of Enterprise rent-a-car, the canopy, the carport, the dumpster, and the items retrieved.
Okay. And did they fairly accurately depict what you observed on the date of June 20th of 2013?
Yes, they do.
Found out off is the next exhibit.
No objections.
Next exhibit.
122L.
You're on there, published. I'm going to show you now what's in mark 122A. Recognize the photograph?
Yes.
And what is this?
That's the Enterprise Rent-A-Car office and the carport.
Where is that located, sir, address-wise?
East Washington Street,
In what town?
North Attleboro.
And you described the canopy, is that shown here?
Yes.
Where is that, sir?
Right above the pickup truck.
122B, recognize what's depicted in this scene, sir?
Yes.
What is that?
The dumpster.
Is that the dumpster you referred to earlier in your testimony?
Yes, it is.
Now, when you had responded, do you know whether the top was open or closed?
I believe it was closed when I responded.
Show you now it's been marked 122C. Do you recognize this scene, sir?
Yes, that's inside the dumpster.
Is that how it appeared when you first looked into it?
Yes.
Showing you now 122D. Recognize what's depicted here, sir?
Yes, that's the items that Trooper Baker pulled out of the dumpster.
And just describe those items individually, if you would.
The piece of paper with a drawing, maybe some paint on it, the
Just if you would just point that piece of paper.
the piece of paper, yep,
Okay,
and then the blue, what appeared to be bubble gum,
okay.
and then the shell casing, which is affixed to the bubble gum, and then the vitamin water bottle right there on the left.
Okay. And was this in the condition that you observed it come out after Sergeant Baker had recovered it?
Yes.
Let me show you it's marked 122E. Recognize it?
Yes.
Describe what that is.
It's just another angle of the same picture, the same piece of paper, the shell casing, the bubble gum.
Can you see what's in the background of this photograph?
Yes, it appears to be as soon as he pulled it out of the dumpster. The dumpster, it's still trash.
Showing you now it's been marked 122F. Recognize it.
Yes.
What is that?
That's the shell casing affixed to the bubble gum.
Fair to say that's just a closer up shot.
Correct.
Showing you now it's been marked 122G. What is this?
Another photograph of the same shell casing.
Is there certain writing on the end of that shell casing?
Yes.
Can you read that?
I can't right now, but I believe
Do you remember what caliber?
45 caliber.
Placing 122H. Recognize that.
Yes.
What is that, sir?
Another angle of the shell casing.
Placing 122I. What is that?
The vitamin water bottle that was retrieved from the dumpster, and also it shows the other side of the piece of paper that had the shell casing and the gum on it.
One 122J.
That's the top side of the piece of paper.
122K.
That's a part of the piece of paper that was taken out of the dumpster.
Lastly, 122L.
Vitamin water bottle.
Now, sir, were you, I think earlier you indicated there was a second search warrant that was executed at the home of the defendant.
Yes.
What date was that?
It was a couple of days after, I'm not sure, a couple of days after the first one.
And at that time, did you also go on that?
Yes.
And were you involved in a search for particular items?
Yes.
What items were you looking for?
Any firearms, ammunition,
Okay. Did you locate any firearms?
no firearms.
Okay. What about ammunition?
Yes.
Okay.
we did.
Where did you locate ammunition?
In the basement storage area.
And just describe, when you say the basement storage area, where is that located in the home?
It's off of, when you go down to the basement, it's a cold storage area on the right-hand side that has all kinds of, boxes and storage.
Is that area finished or unfinished?
Unfinished.
Do you know where it is in its proximity to the room with the pool table?
Yes, it's just before it on the right-hand side.
Okay. And when you went down there, at some point, was your attention directed to a particular item?
Yes.
And what was that?
It was a black safe-like lockbox,
And was that in a locked or unlocked condition?
unlocked.
And did you have an opportunity to look inside?
Yes.
And what did you find?
A small box of ammunition,
Okay. Do you know what kind of ammunition?
22 caliber.
If I might approach, Your Honor. Just going to show you these three photographs, ask you just take a look at them. Sir, you recognize the scenes depicted in these three photographs?
Yes.
What do you recognize them to be?
The safe, two pictures of the safe, and also a picture of the 22 caliber ammunition.
Okay. And did these fairly and accurately portray their locations and what you observed when you were there during the execution of the search warrant on June 22nd?
Yes, they do.
Your Honor, offer this as the next exhibit.
No objection.
We mark this the next exhibit, and I would like to see counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, publish these two.
Come in.
Thank you. Let's read. Listing 123A on the overhead. Describe what is in this photograph.
That's the area of the storage area that I located the safe, and the safe.
If you would just point to that location, sir.
Right here.
This item here. 123B. What does that show, sir?
That's a close-up of the safe.
And 123C.
That's the small box of 22 ammo located.
On that approach. I'm just going to show you this item, ask you if you recognize it.
Yes.
What do you recognize it to be?
That's the box of 22 ammo located inside the safe.
And after you located it, do you know what happened to it?
It was given to an evidence officer. They secured it.
And is it in substantial, at the time that you saw it, was there any of this tape on it?
No.
Is it in substantially the same condition, though, from when you did observe it in that lockbox?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd offer this as the next exhibit.
No objection.
Mark this next exhibit.
No, if I could publish this item. So I'm placing 124 on the overhead, at the item you recovered from that lockbox.
Yes, it is.
And may I approach? Sir, a few moments ago, I had asked you about certain items that you observed that were recovered from the dumpster
Yes.
behind Enterprise. Just show you these items. You see this item?
Yes.
What is that?
It's a shell casing.
Okay. And you recognize this?
Yes. That appears to be the shell casing that was recovered from the dumpster.
Appear to be in the same, did you notice some writing on it this time?
Yes.
And the time that you saw, was there any writing?
No.
Okay. See this side here? Does it show some material on the side?
Yes.
Okay. And does that, just describe that material?
It looks like blue, blue stain.
And was that consistent with when you first saw it?
Yes.
What you said was a gum-like substance?
Yes.
This item, I'm just going to have you see that in there?
Yes.
Okay, what do you recognize that to be?
The blue bubble gum, I believe.
And lastly, this item here, do you recognize that?
Yes, that's the piece of paper, the drawing with the, that was located.
Okay. Do all these items appear to be consistent, in substantially the same shape as when you saw it back on June 20th of 2013?
Yes.
Not at all, these is the next three exhibits.
No objection.
Not just next exhibits.
No, if I could use the overhead as well.
Me.
Placing 125. That's the item I just showed you, sir.
Yes.
Indicating there's something on the side, is that right?
Yes, a
That would be
blue,
consistent with when you first observed it.
correct.
And this number marked as number 120. 6. This item, sir.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I couldn't see
I
that.
am sorry.
Thank you.
I'm going to put 127 now. Recognize that as one side of this, or
Yes.
the other side.
Yes.
I'm sorry, could you put that back on again? I didn't really have a chance to see it.
So does that appear to be the wrong side?
Yes.
And on the back, is that
That appears to be the back.
reverse side, sir?
Yes.
And you saw that item, fair to say it was in this area here,
Yes.
and the paper was crunched up somewhat when you observed it.
Correct.
Excuse me, Ron. And sir, just to clarify, when you first saw that item, Sergeant Baker had recovered it from the dumpster.
I'm sorry, could you clarify which item, please, sir?
Sure. piece of paper I just showed you,
Yes.
when you first saw that, just describe its condition.
It was crumpled up, and Mr. Baker, Sergeant Baker held it in his hands.
Okay. And there was a photograph that showed that?
Yes.
And just in terms of that gum and that shell casing, they were all together on that piece of paper, is that true?
Yeah, they appeared affixed to it, yeah.
Okay. He hadn't done anything to manipulate that. That's the condition, at least as far as you could see, when he recovered it.
Best of my knowledge, yes.
Okay. Now, sir, on the date of June 22nd, you indicated during the execution of the search warrant you had recovered ammunition. Was there anything else that you were looking for?
Ammunition, firearms, clothing.
Okay. And specifically as related to clothing, just describe what you were looking for.
We were told to look for a blue plaid shirt and also a white hooded sweatshirt.
John?
You may.
So I'm going to show you what's been marked now, F for identification. Just with regard to, does that depict an article of clothing?
Yes.
And just describe the color.
Blue and white plaid
Okay.
checkered sweatshirt.
And,
Shirt.
okay, and were you able to recover or locate a similar item during the search of the home on June 22nd?
No.
I'm just going to have you look at these two photographs. And have you seen these photographs before?
Yes.
Okay. And does it depict an article of clothing?
Yes.
And who's wearing the article of clothing?
Mr. Hernandez.
And did you, were you also searching for that item?
Yes.
And were you able to recover that in the home of Mr. Hernandez?
No, we were not.
Your Honor, if I could have these next two photographs marked for identification just now.
No objection to being marked, Your Honor, for identification only.
So was there a particular logo on that sweatshirt?
There was.
Okay, just describe it generally.
It's on the left breast of the sweatshirt. I believe it looks like a bird or some kind of symbol up there.
Okay. Now, sir, during the course of that search warrant on June 22nd, was anything, did you have an occasion to go out into the garage area?
Yes.
And just describe what you noticed in the, first of all, was it a one-car, two-car garage?
It was 3 or 4 car garage, yeah.
Okay, well, do you know?
3 car garage?
Well, let me ask you this. At some point, did you see a vehicle in any of the garages?
Yes.
Okay, what kind of vehicle?
There were 2 vehicles inside the garage.
Okay, and just describe them.
One was a white SUV, and another was a gray Toyota Camry.
Okay. At some point, did you make a search of the Toyota Camry?
Yes.
And just describe what, if anything, did you find?
You may.
Sir, may I, Your Honor?
You may.
Sir, with regard to the Toyota, did you search the back seat area?
Yes,
And is it fair to say that you located a black duffel bag?
correct.
And on top of that was a white plastic bag. Is that true, sir?
Yes,
And did you do a further search that revealed the contents of that white plastic bag?
Yes.
True?
correct.
And would you agree with me, the contents, there was a boarding pass that was recovered from that bag?
Correct.
And that boarding pass was in the name of Ernest Wallace?
Correct.
If I could approach you, Your Honor.
You may.
So I'm just going to show you these 4 photographs. Ask you if you recognize them.
Yes. Yep.
And what do you recognize them to be?
The black duffel bag and the white bag with the boarding pass in it,
Okay.
and the
Do they-
boarding pass itself.
And they fairly and accurately portray what you observed on the search of June 22nd, is that true?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd offer this as the next exhibit.
No objection.
Marked as next exhibit.
Line 28A through D.
Thank you. Your Honor, if I publish these.
You may.
So I'm showing you what's now been marked 128A. Recognize what's depicted here, sir?
Yes.
Does that show that black duffel bag
Yes.
and also the white plastic bag?
Correct.
One 128B, what does that show, sir?
A pair of jeans and the boarding pass.
128C,
The boarding pass?
and 128D.
The reverse side of it.
So it's indicated date of that boarding pass.
April 30th, 2013.
In the name of,
Ernest Wallace?
and in terms of the flight information.
Correct.
Okay. Do you know what MSP Arrow Boston means?
I want to say, I'm not sure, Minneapolis, St. Paul, maybe?
And sir, on June 30th, were you working on this investigation?
Yes.
And did you learn of a particular vehicle just being brought to the station?
I did.
And what vehicle was that?
It was a Chrysler 300.
So I'm going to show you a series of photographs. Recognize that?
Yes, I do.
That one?
Yep,
That's number 3.
yep,
And number 4.
yep.
And what do you recognize those to be?
The Chrysler 300 that was brought to our station.
And as a result of it, did they fairly and accurately portray how it appeared to you when back on the 30th of June 2013?
Yes,
And as a result of this item being brought to the station, did you participate in the execution of a search warrant of it?
I did.
And during the course of the search warrant, was anything located in the glove box?
Yes,
Just going to show you this item. Do you recognize it?
yes.
What do you recognize it to be?
Rental agreement from Enterprise Rent-A-Car?
Okay. And was this recovered during that search warrant?
Yes,
Where?
in the glove compartment.
And does it appear to be in substantially the same condition as when it was recovered from the glove box, June 30th?
Yes.
You want to offer these, the photos, series? And then this is a separate exhibit, if I could.
They may be marked as the next exhibits.
A through G and 130.
Thank you. I can publish these.
Me.
So I'm going to show you, it's now 129A. Do you recognize it?
Yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
Chrysler 300,
What color was that, sir?
silver.
129B.
Yep.
Recognize that?
Yes,
What do you recognize that to be?
the Chrysler 300.
And the registration on this vehicle?
451375, Rhode Island.
And was there a sticker when you saw it on the windshield?
Yes,
Is that shown in this photograph?
yes it is.
I'm sorry, this is 129C. You also see a sticker.
Yes, on the driver's window.
And then, I'm going to show you 129D. What is this depict?
That green sticker.
There's certain information at the bottom of that sticker.
Yes.
What is that?
Huntington Woods.
Are you familiar with that location, sir?
Yes.
Where is that?
Bristol, Connecticut.
You ever been to Bristol, Connecticut?
Yes, I have.
In the course of this investigation, how many times did you go to Bristol?
Several, dozens.
Do you know an individual by the name of Christopher Barnes?
Yes.
Do you know where he lives?
Huntington Woods.
And I'm placing what's now marked 130 on the screen. What is this?
The rental agreement?
And you know the name that the rental agreement is in?
Aaron Hernandez.
And the company that was involved in this rental agreement?
Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
I could have one moment, Your Honor. Nothing further. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can we just approach her briefly, Your Honor?
May-
Good afternoon, Detective Elliott.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sir, you covered a lot of ground in your direct, so I hope that you and the jury will bear with me as we go through the various things you talked about.
Sure.
You told us, start with June 17th.
Yes.
When you went to the scene, right?
Yes.
And you told us that you got there shortly after 6 p.m.?
Right around 6, yes.
So is it fair to say you have no personal knowledge of what happened at that scene before you got there right after 6?
Yes.
And you observed a towel near the body, right? The white
Yes.
towel? And you picked that towel up, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Do you recall the time that you picked that towel up, Detective?
I don't recall exactly. I would think it would have been probably about 6:30 or so, 6:20, 6:30 maybe? Around 6:30? I don't know exactly.
Did anybody document the time, to your knowledge, when you did that?
Not to my knowledge.
Did anybody photograph you doing it?
No, not to my knowledge.
And when you picked up the towel, it wasn't raining at that point, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Now, you also walked around the area, right?
Yes.
And you told us that you found a shoe impression
Correct.
and that you covered it with a tarp or something.
Yes.
Did you see any other shoe impressions around the area as you walked around?
I did see others, yes.
Did you cover any of them?
No.
Did you write any kind of a report about what you did at the scene on June 17th?
No, I didn't.
And you were there for about 2.5 hours, right?
Roughly, yes. Yep.
And in addition to, you told us that you you took the towel, you picked the towel off the ground, and you secured it in the trunk of Detective Arrighi's car, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And you found a shoe print that you covered, right?
Correct.
And you saw some other shoe prints that you didn't cover, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, is it your practice as a detective to write reports when you come to the, when you're investigating a homicide, and you come to the scene and you do certain things like pick up evidence and find shoe prints and cover them? Isn't it your practice to write reports, sir?
Sometimes, yes.
But on this occasion, you didn't, right?
I didn't know.
Now, you recall your testimony a little while ago about Aaron Hernandez being in the North Attleboro police station on the night of June 17th, 2013.
Correct. It was the early morning hours of the 18th, yeah. But
Well,
yes,
you
17th, you're correct.
He got there, you said, at around 11 o'clock?
Yep.
At night, right?
Correct.
So that was on the 17th, and then he was there for several hours, right?
Yes.
So he was there into the early morning hours of June 18th.
He was there for part of the time, yes.
Well, he got there around 11,
Correct.
right? And you told us he was put in some kind of an interview room?
Yeah, a room, yep.
I'm sorry?
Yes,
Okay. And that's a room on the second floor of the North Attleboro Police Station?
correct.
Okay. And he was in that room by himself for a while, right?
Correct.
Okay. And while he was in that room, where were you, Detective?
Walking, doing about my business, in that detective area, hallway, in the area.
Okay. And is it fair to say that while Aaron Hernandez was in that room, that he was being watched on camera?
Yes.
Okay. And did anybody tell him he was going to be watched on camera while he was sitting in there?
I don't believe so.
Who was watching him on a camera while he was sitting in there?
Whoever was in the room that it was being viewed at, I don't know specifically.
You weren't doing that?
Partly, yeah, sometimes.
So you were one of the people who were watching him, right?
Yes.
Okay. And a couple of hours later, you told us, Mr. Hernandez was in the parking lot of the police station, right?
Correct.
Okay. And he was inside a car?
Yes.
Okay. And you told us that you went to the dispatch room?
Yes.
What's the dispatch room?
Dispatch room is where all the calls come into the police station. It's where the security system, where they view and watch the cameras, the cells. They take all the calls, 911, and dispatch from there.
That's on the first floor of the police station?
Yes.
And there's a police dispatcher who's on duty there, right?
Yes.
That's not your duty station, right?
No.
Okay. So why did you go to the dispatch room that morning, Detective?
Specifically, just it's not uncommon for me to be
No, I
in
don't
there.
ask what was uncommon, sir. I asked why you went there.
I went into the room to actually move the cameras to see if I could see anyone outside.
Well, so you went to the dispatch room because you wanted to see what Aaron was doing, right?
Correct.
So you went to the dispatch room, and you were able to operate this camera that's on the side of the building, right?
Yes.
Okay. And how did you operate it?
It's a joystick, and there's you can go forward, backwards. You can zoom by turning it.
So you were able, by operating your joystick, to pan, you told us you panned the camera over to the car where Mr. Hernandez was, that he was sitting in, right?
Correct.
And then, after panning over to where he was sitting inside this car, you were able to zoom in to try to see what he was doing in there, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you told us that you saw him, I think the words you used were taking apart his phone.
Correct.
Okay. And you were able, were you not, by zooming in, you could see that that phone was a BlackBerry, right?
No,
You couldn't see that?
I couldn't tell.
Okay. Well, when you say that he took apart, well, did you ever learn that that phone was a BlackBerry, sir?
Later on, yes.
Okay. So it's not an iPhone, right?
No.
It's a
not that.
BlackBerry.
His phone was a BlackBerry.
Right, okay. So, have you ever seen a BlackBerry before?
Long time ago.
Okay. It's fair to say that on a BlackBerry, the back cover slides off, right?
I never taken one apart, to be honest with you.
So you don't know whether you need some kind of tools to take apart a BlackBerry or whether the back cover just slides off?
No, I don't.
You don't know whether there's a battery inside that you can just pop out?
I'm sure it has a, I don't know. I don't know if it just pops out, but I'm sure it has a battery, yes.
Well, in fact, that's what you saw him doing that night through
Correct.
your Zoom, right?
Yep.
You saw him slide off the back cover and pop out the battery.
Okay.
Is that what you saw?
Yes.
All right. You didn't see him smashing his phone, did you?
No.
You didn't see him destroying his phone, did you?
No.
He took down the back cover and popped out the battery. That's what he did, right?
Correct.
And you're aware, are you not, that that phone was later turned over to the state police, right?
I believe so, yes.
Now, remember testifying about a search that you participated in at Aaron Hernandez's home on the evening, that same evening, June 18th.
Yes.
Did you ever get to sleep in the middle of all this, Detective?
Very little, sir.
All right, but you were there that evening, the evening of Tuesday, June 18th, 2013, right?
Yes.
And I think you told us on direct examination, you were there with other officers to execute a search warrant, right?
Correct.
Okay. And am I correct that there were maybe a dozen or 14 officers there that night?
You could be correct. I don't know the exact number, but yes, there were several.
Well, there were more than several. There were like more than 10, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Is that your best recollection?
My best recollection, there could be more than 10, yes.
All right. And you and all those other officers were there to execute a search warrant for the home surveillance system and Aaron's phone, right?
Correct.
Okay. So specifically, what was your job during the execution of the search warrant, Detective Elliott?
My first job was to follow the video recording of the CPAC unit around the house to videotape the house before the search was done.
All right, so let's start with that one. That was your first job. So before the search happened, it was a warrant for specific items, right?
Correct.
And you understand as a law enforcement officer that when you have a search warrant, that warrant only authorizes you to look for the particular items that are specified in the warrant, right?
Correct.
A search warrant is not a license for the police to snoop around somebody's entire house looking for whatever they might seem interesting to them, right?
Right, it's only for where the items could be held.
Right. It's only for the specific items in the warrant, right?
Correct.
And in this case, the items that the warrant authorized you to look for were Aaron's phone and the home surveillance system, right?
Correct.
But before anybody even started looking for these items, somebody decided, let's videotape the whole house, right?
Correct.
And in fact, that occurred.
Yes, it did.
Somebody with a video camera went into each and every room of that house and videotaped it, right?
Yes.
And what exactly did you do to assist with that, Detective Elliott?
I just stayed with the person videotaping to clear anyone out of the, do my best as possible to clear anyone out of the view of the camera.
Okay, and as far as clearing anybody out of the view of the camera, you're talking about all the police that were in there, right?
Police, civilians, anyone, yes.
Well, Aaron Hernandez was there, right?
Yes.
His fiancée, Shayana Jenkins, was there, right?
Yes, she was.
Their baby, AVL, was there, right?
Yep.
There were no other civilians not associated with law enforcement inside the home, were there?
No, I believe it was just those three.
So, and they weren't getting in the way of all this photography, were they?
No.
They were basically sitting in the living room where they were told to sit, right?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So when you talk about clearing people out of the way so this videotaping could happen, you're talking about the people who were there to execute the search warrant, right?
Correct. And also Mr. Hernandez, his fiancée, and his child.
Right, but they were sitting in the living room, right?
Right, but we had to videotape the living room at some
I
point.
see. So at a certain point, and who was doing the videotaping?
One of the state troopers.
You know who?
I don't know his name.
Okay. But at some point, they wanted to he or she wanted, was it a male or a female?
Male.
Were there any female state troopers there?
I believe so.
Okay. But, so he or she was wanted to videotape the living room, so the occupants of the home needed to clear out of the living room so that could occur?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how long were you there that night?
Roughly, I'd say a couple hours, 2-3
Okay.
hours maybe.
So, other than assisting a trooper in videotaping every room in the house, what were your other responsibilities there?
That was just about it that night.
Okay. Well, you told us at some point you went downstairs, right?
I was in every room, yes.
And when you went downstairs, was that in connection with this videotaping that was
Yes.
going on?
Yep.
I think you told us on direct examination that Aaron's phone was not recovered there that night, right?
Right, I believe it wasn't.
Okay. Did you learn at some point while you were there that night that Mr. Hernandez's phone, in fact, was with his lawyers in Boston?
I don't remember hearing that night, no.
Did you ever hear that?
Later on, yes.
And did you learn later on that the state police obtained that phone from Aaron's lawyers in Boston?
Yes.
Now, let's turn to something else you did on June 18th, and that was you told us on direct examination that you went to Enterprise Rent-A-Car in North Attleboro that day, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Before we turn to this new area, we're going to stop and take a lunch recess. We're going to take a short one today, just 30 minutes, and it is my intention to stop the trial today after we finish with this witness, so that people are not driving later in the, very late in the day, given the fact that it's still snowing. So we'll reassess it at 1:30, but my current plan is to take a short lunch break and resume with this witness and then stop after this witness. Thank you.
Would all rise?